$200, a Super Nintendo setup costs twice as much as the old system. For the money, the company promises better pictures, sound, and adventure. Now you're playing with power, superpower. You're the king, I tell you! The king!
Only for Super NES. You're listening to the SNES broadcast with your hosts, Soulblazer and George.
Hello, everybody. Super NES podcast coming at you again. As always, episode 130 this time. There's only so many ways I can change this intro up, so sue me.
Okay.
I am Greg. He is George. And
Vroom, vroom.
yes, with a measure like of bump bump on the side, right?
Right.
But actually, have you ever been to one of those monster truck slash like big car rallies? They're pretty fun.
Sunday, monster truck rally. Actually, I have been to multiple ones.
Yes.
That were over here.
Cool.
Locally.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty fun in person, actually. So, I like them, but
Really loud.
yeah. Yes, they are.
Yeah, if you've ever been in an enclosed area
I have been
with them,
Yep.
yeah, you could be in the nosebleeds, and it's like, I can't even think.
Right. So, like generic, I guess you call it like off race track, is not as popular as like racing as racing is, but there have been a number.
You mean
of,
off-roading?
Off-roading, sure. There have been a number of games made over the years though with featuring that, including the game we're covering in this episode. We're looking at the Super NES port of Iron Man Stewart Super Off-Road, which actually called Super Off-Road Super NES because they didn't pay for licensing. So
yeah, you almost confused me when you told me the title of the game, and I was like, is there a different version of this? Or
yeah,
and then I didn't have to do much digging, but it's like,
Right.
oh, okay, no, it's just Super Off-Road on this console. Okay.
This is a very confusing game to talk about as far as its development and
It
licensing.
has cars. I don't understand what those are. You're gonna have to explain that to me. It's very confusing.
But I just mean the whole like development, and it's called this in this console, but call this on a different console, and who got the rights to actually develop it, to develop other versions, and it's messier than I thought it was gonna be. So I'm gonna
Yay for messes.
So I'm gonna try to walk us through this as best I can here. But first of all, let me just say that this was my pick this time, and I picked this game because I really enjoyed this game. This was originally like an arcade game, and I first played it as a kid, and just really enjoyed it because it's a very easy pick up and play, fun, especially like 2-player or the arcade. The arcade version offered 3 people like head-to-head, so that's a lot of fun.
I think was there a NES version? I was reading that the NES version had 4 players support.
Yep, like they had the NES satellite, where the NES 4 score. The NES version did support like 4 players.
That's crazy. Also, I have a 4 score, so that's a thing.
I never had one of those. I think they're like pretty hard to find these days.
I mean, I got mine a few years ago, and it was decently cheap, but I don't know. Also, there's not too many 4-player games, so that's a thing as well.
Yeah, I'm only familiar with about a dozen of them myself. Off the top of my head, so.
Oh well, you know more than I do.
Mule is a great 4-player NES game. That's what. Mule is like one of my favorite computer games of all time. So, the NES port of it is like very, very good. That's another game that supports 4 players. So, but anyway, so yeah, this is a game I've always really enjoyed because I like racing games a lot, but I kind of favor the more unconventional racing games as opposed to the usual racing ones. I guess that's why I like I guess that's the reason like why I liked F-Zero so much, because that game is so different. I mean, it is race racing, but it's not like usual racing. It's like super futuristic, like interesting courses, interesting cars racing. So I guess that's why it appealed to me so much. So had you ever played this game like any version before, George? The like
Nope.
arcade? Okay. So
Nope.
But yeah, this game, this game reminds me a lot about Super Sprint by Atari, which is another similar game.
Right.
Except Super Sprint is an actual like Indy 500 style game, as opposed to this one being as opposed to this one being a off course. So, and a little bit about. It's not. Obviously the two games are very different, but the gameplay reminds me a little bit about RC Pro Am because of some of the the size of the cars and the races and the races and the fact that you could spend money to upgrade your car between the races and that kind of stuff. So,
I mean, it kind of feels like that in a sense because all the cars are so small, and it's it just feels like you're remote controlling them, not like you're a driver of an actual like big truck or whatever.
Yeah. But I think the arcade developers had to make a compromise because they realized that because they realized that a one-screen race game would be a lot easier to play as opposed to anything else. So I think they had to make some compromises like making the game. But anyway, the arcade version of this game came out back in 1989. So it was developed by, and this is already. This is already we're talking about things getting confusing. It was developed by a small company called Leland Corporation, which made several other arcade games during this time time period. Leland is really essentially for the most part Cinematronics, the famous Dragon Age, Dragon's Lair company.
Wow. What a big mess up. Those are two different things.
Yes. Yep. So, yeah. Cinematronics was one of the most popular arcade manufacturers of the 80s. They made, they made a lot of vector games. They also made, Dragon's Lair or whatnot. They fell into hard times, and they were bought by Tradewest in 1987, who basically reorganized the company and renamed it Leland Corporation. And besides this game, they also developed Dragon's Lair 2, Time Warp, which had actually been in development for a long time before that. They finally got the game. They got the game out. So, Leland was always kind of small and small. They didn't really last all that long. They were purchased by Williams in 1994 and got absorbed into them. Tradewest is. I think we talked about Tradewest already back in our Battlestar, back in our Battletoads versus Double Dragon episode. So
were you gonna say Battlestar Galactica?
No, I was trying to say I wasn't gonna say Battlestar, but I'm just reading things very badly tonight apparently. So, Tradewest got the rights to produce the home versions of the game, but they were just the producer of the game. They didn't actually port the game over. The porting of the game was done by various companies. The NES version was handled by Rare, so that's why a lot of people consider the NES version to be. So, because of that, a lot of folks consider the NES version of the game to be one of the best ones out there. So, altogether, this game was ported to. This is a list. The Amiga, the Amstrad CPC, the Atari ST, the Commodore 64, DOS, Game Boy, Game Gear, Lynx, Master System, Genesis, NES, Super NES, and Super NES, in the ZX Spectrum.
ZX Spectrum.
Yep. So, a lot of ports.
That is a lot.
The Master System version I've never played. I'm curious when you actually get around to covering that, in the Master System podcast, because graphically it looks very good.
Well, if it ever comes back, then maybe we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, hopefully. So the Super NES version of the game was handled by a company called Software Creations. They're the ones who actually handled the port, this game. They were a British game developer who were around from 1985 to 2004. They started off their life doing mostly like ports for British computers. They did a lot of work upon movie and comic licenses from stuff like Marvel, Disney, and so on. But and they considered later on they would develop more of their own games, but they also did a lot of ports over the years. But a lot of those ports were said to be like very, very good ports. They handled like Indiana Jones and Last Crusade and Silver Surfer ports like for the NES.
Oh, great.
Blaster Master 2 for 5 Genesis, which I really like, but even though it's nothing like the first game. We covered Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage, right? That was a game that they worked on.
Yeah, I think so.
Or was it Separation Anxiety that we covered? Well,
no, it was Maximum Carnage.
Well, in any case, they worked on both games, so.
Well, there you go.
Their most famous original game, however, is probably Solstice, like the NES, as well as the sequel Equinox. So, pretty good company. So, they were eventually bought by Acclaim in 2002. They were renamed as Acclaim Studios Manchester, and then they got shut down in 2004, when Acclaim went bankrupt.
Yep.
So
Acclaim is actually, or was a local company over here, actually.
Oh yeah, yep, that's right. I remember that. So,
it's crazy.
There were a couple other companies based in New York City area too, I think, but I think Acclaim's the biggest.
Avalanche is over here. Rockstar is over here.
But oh, cool.
Those are pretty big names.
Right. So I should probably talk about a little bit about who Ivan Stewart himself actually is, because I'm sure most of our audience doesn't know who he is. Either they've heard the name before.
He's a guy that likes cars.
Well, he's one of the first and most successful professional off-road racers.
So I was right.
Getting started. His career spanned from 1973 to 2000. So that's when finally retired.
Oh
wow. Won a total of 82 races during his career. 17 races. Like in the Mickey Thompson Entertainment Group Stadium Series, which was like a big deal. They do the Baja 500, the Baja 1000, and the Score International events. Yeah. So yeah, sorry, but he also wrote a book about his experiences, which is which been very which is still very well. He was associated with Toyota for a long time, because Toyota was their was a sponsor for most of his career.
I could tell with this game.
Yes, we're gonna get into that. So, this is interesting. His pull of Toyota was so big. As a matter of fact, that shortly after he retired, when Toyota introduced the Toyota Tundra pickup truck, they produced a very small amount of trucks, like the Ivan Stewart, as the Ivan Stewart Iron Man edition.
Weird.
That actually had a signature emblazoned like on a pickup, and also had a Toyota racing development kit installed, which included the wheels, the grille, the interior, and supercharger.
Oh wow.
And I didn't look it up, but I imagine these Tundras probably go for big money these days. So.
Maybe.
So so Ivan's still around. He's 24 years old now currently. He's still he's still active. He's still active in the the racing circuit. He shows up at events, does lectures, that kind of stuff. So, but I mentioned before that because of the fact that the game went through a lot of licensing ports, because like I said, TradeWest got the rights to produce the home game, so they had the rights to use Ivan Stewart's name. However, for various reasons, those rights didn't always carry over to the companies developing the ports of the game. So as a result, you had some versions of the game which carried Ivan's name and some versions which didn't, which makes it more confusing. I don't know what the rhyme or reason behind all that was, but but anyway, like, it is what it is. So the game also was recently the game also was re-released during the PS2 Xbox era, because Williams was picked up because the rights to Williams went over to actually I'm not really sure. I'm sorry, Midway was Midway was still an active company, I think, at the time that Midway Arcade Treasures 3 came out. The PS2
What year was that?
It was a 2004.
Pretty sure Midway went out of business like was it like 08, 2009, something like that?
Okay, yeah. So at the time they had the rights to the Ivan Stewart game. I don't know who has the rights now, but since Midway's also now out of business, but so the games, like the arcade version of the game is available on that. The arcade version of the game can also be found on the Midway Arcade Origins collection for the PS3 and Xbox 360, which came out in 2012.
They closed 2009.
All right.
2010, the corporate entity was closed, and then all the rest of their assets dissolved in 2011.
Okay, so Warner Brothers must have gotten the rights to the game, because Warner Brothers is the one who actually released the Midway Arcade Origins game. So
yeah, seems like it.
But also again, because licensing issues, obviously if you have licensing issues, neither of those collections actually uses Ivan's name. They're just called Super Off-Road, because obviously the license is long. Obviously, the license is long expired by this point. So.
I mean, the guy's still alive. Just give him $100 and say, "Can we put your name on this?" And maybe he'll say, "Yeah."
They could, but so anyway,
or you just call it Sivan Ewert's Super Off-Road, right? You just swap the first letter of each name.
Yeah, I suppose so, but. So, Super NES version of this game is different for several reasons, which makes it a very interesting port. Because some of these ports are very, very close to the arcade version, and some of them are not really. Super NES version has some significant changes to it. So I'll just go through those changes here, like, real quick. Obviously, we already mentioned, just called Super Off-Road because they didn't get the license. However, wanting to preserve kind of some of the, Software Creations did want to try to preserve some of the look of the the arcade game a little bit, so they did strike a deal with Toyota, so they were able to use Toyota's name and image in the Super NES version of the game, just like the same way that it appeared like in the arcade version of the game. So that explains why there's the Toyota logo whatnot's plastered all over this game. So, but this version of the game only allows two humans to play, as opposed to
how many aliens? How many aliens can play this game?
Two again.
How many dogs can play this game?
A dog who can play this game would be very fascinating. I'd like to see that.
Can 3 dogs play this game, or
2 living things?
Okay.
Let's put it that way. So.
All right, 2 plants. two. Okay, just go on.
Right. So, but to be fair, most of the ports of the game only feature 2 living players. That's why the NES version is so highly thought of, because the only one that supports 4 players. So,
right.
Which one better? Which one better than the arcade version did? Because the arcade version only allowed 3 players. So.
Better than the arcade.
So the arcade version of the game had 8 tracks featured, had 8 different tracks featured in it. The Super NES version has 16. So they did they did one better there. However, the arcade version of the game had had a total of 99 races before it actually started to repeat. The Super NES version only has 64 races.
That's still a lot.
Yeah, it's still a pretty good amount.
I mean, does that also include reverse options for some of those tracks?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think I noticed that.
they can get, I'm sure the company got creative in saying, like, 64 races. And it's like, well, something that's like mirror images.
Now
So-
race upside down. Race in zero gravity.
So you may have also noticed that the pre-race music music in this game was the same Toyota jingle that was being used by their company for like the marketing campaign like the time. So I know Toyota reference like in the game. Also instead, the arcade version of the game actually featured Ivan Stewart's likeness as one of the racers in the game, like he was in the gray truck. But with this version of the game, they didn't have the license to use his name. They instead used somebody else. They instead used like Nicky Thompson, like in the game instead, who was deceased, and they did not get permission from the estate to do that. So,
Oh, great.
whoops.
Not whoops. That's crappy.
Yeah. Nobody apparently noticed though because noticed though or cared because I couldn't find any mention of a lawsuit. But
Woof, that's even worse.
yeah, maybe the state was paid like under the table with hush money. Who knows? But
I have no idea.
so anyway, those are the major changes that the Super NES version of the game has, compared to the arcade version of the game.
Well, also you have to use the Super Nintendo controller.
Of course, yes, but
Yeah.
compared to the mini Wii that the arcade version had, but the controls in this game, I think the most part, I think they work pretty good.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought the driving was just way too stiff.
Well, once you upgrade, I mean,
What was I supposed to upgrade? Like, that's a serious question.
everything,
Tires?
basically.
Like, what increases my steering?
Tires are one of the big things that that do that. So
Okay, that's weird and also doesn't make sense. But
so
I didn't get to upgrade them that much, so
Maybe that's
okay. I guess
why,
that's
so.
maybe on maybe that's my fault, but otherwise it was pretty stiff. It was something you had to get used to. Most certainly not the worst. I've
No.
definitely played with worse, but it was still kind of bad.
So I do agree with you that it does take a little while to get the hang of. I think obviously a wheel like would work best. But once you upgrade the car, the steering gets like much tighter. It's not perfect, but you are we definitely are able to make those like turns better. So
That's the one thing that kills these types of like top-down racing games. Is just like there are a bunch of them that the steering is so loose or it's just too stiff or whatever, and yeah, it just kind of kills it.
So you start out the game with $8,000 to spend, and you have 5.
I thought it was 100,000.
Oh, you may be right. I'm thinking of like 8,000.
Yeah, because you can buy right away. You can buy the top speed upgrade if you want
Right.
to.
Yeah. Exactly. So, right. So there's 5 upgrades available in the game, and you can have up to 6 levels of each of them. There's acceleration, which causes you to go faster. Tires, which handle which is the steering, as we talked about. Top speed, which is obviously top speed that your car can go. Shocks, which improves your ability to be able to go over bumps and hazards and tough spots on the race. And very handy and the most useful, nitro, which when activated gives you like a burst.
This game is so unfair because it gives the AI like 30 bursts of nitrous every race. It's like, what? There is no coin slot on my Super Nintendo. You can't take money from me, so why are you making the game cheat? What is this?
Well, the AI doesn't upgrade their car like you do, so I think the developers were
Are you
trying
sure
to...
about that? Because there are times where I feel like they're going faster than me, and I upgrade my acceleration and my top speed a lot, and they're just like zooming by me without using nitrous sometimes, and it's insane.
Well, it doesn't seem like that they do. Maybe it's like certain cars or certain checkpoints in the game that they trigger an increase, but I really didn't see that. But maybe just because I just became so overpowered so fast it didn't matter. That's another thing about this game. To me, at least, I found this game like pretty easy, but still fun to play.
What?
Yeah.
You must have been cheating. This game was not easy. I mean, I was not good at it at the beginning, but I got used to it, and I did start either winning a bunch of races or getting second place in a bunch of races, but like, still, I think this game is not ridiculously difficult, but pretty difficult. And also, that guy in the white truck, screw him. He always gets in. He almost always gets him first, and all the other AI drivers play so dirty. It's ridiculous. You know how many times I've been spun out by them, or they ran me into a wall, or they just bumped me, and it's like, oh, thanks for the speed boost, and then next thing I know, I hit a wall like head on, and oh my god.
I probably should cover those statements. I don't disagree with you. The AI in this game does get pretty tough. I've just played this game for so much because I really like it that I'm pretty good at it now by this point. So, I really don't find it to be all that difficult once you know what you're doing. Because obviously you want to upgrade your car as soon as possible. The upgrades, the winning and upgrading in this game works pretty similar to most of the racing games. You need to place the top 3 to be able to advance.
Yeah, there's only 4 racers, so
right.
You have a decent chance of not losing the game.
You also have like unlimited continues. But one downside about the home version of the game compared to the arcade version is that in the arcade version you kept your money. The home version you continue your cash gets reset to 0. So there's like one of the downsides to this game to make it more difficult. So
yeah, I really wish games in this era and the eras before and after would give you unlimited continues, because what's the point of, it's one thing to lose all your lives or whatever, and then like, oh, you have to like go back to the start of the world or whatever. That's kind of alright in a sense, but like having to start the game all over just because, like, it's not like you're shutting off the game or anything. I still never understood that, and it's kind of just annoying. There's only like limited continues in most of these games.
Yeah. So, no, I agree with you there on that. So, but the arcade game was so popular, as a matter of fact, that they actually released like an upgrade for it, which is kind of a rare thing for arcade machines during this time period. The track pack, which came out the following year in 1989, which contained like 8 new tracks. I don't know if any of those tracks made it over to the home versions.
All right, no idea either.
It also allowed you, however, I do know as a matter of fact though that this upgrade did not make it over home versions. It allowed you, that upgrade also allowed you to choose between a truck, your truck or dune buggy.
That's probably for like the other game that came out, Super Off-Road Baja.
Oh, could be, yeah. But yep. I was gonna get to that next.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, very good, George.
Yay.
Yep. So, that is the first sequel of this game that came out, 1993. That was changed to a third person camera, however.
I didn't even realize that. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I don't think it's.
Does it like look like Super Mario Kart, or like what's up with that?
It's a little bit more grainier because of the racing angle, but it's not bad. The graphics are pretty good. So, They're also the second sequel. The second sequel was called Off-Road Challenge, which came out in the arcades in 1997.
I heard of this game.
Well, that's because it was one home port of it, the N64.
Right.
Yeah. This is a third person 3D driving view this time. So
right.
The last sequel was called Off-Road Thunder, which came out in 1999 for the arcades. Did not get a home port until it was included on the Midway Arcade Treasures 3 collection 2005. So, I've not played Off-Road Challenge or Off-Road Thunder, so I can't say how those games are. But Super Off-Road, the Baja, is pretty fun. So, but yeah, speaking about the graphics of this game are very close. Very close like arcade version. But on the other hand, I mean,
wait, are they? Because they're simplistic, like not in a bad way.
That's what I mean, because this is by the time the game came out, like the Super NES in 1990. I didn't even mention that. This got released on the Super NES in 1993. So I'm making nope, sorry, 1990. Not that late, 1991. So this was by the time it came out, the arcade game had been out for over 2 years. So I mean, and these, and you're right. These were not great graphics like the arcade when they first came out in the first place, because they're focusing on the gameplay. So because of that, the Super NES was able to duplicate, and most home ports for that matter, duplicated the arcade graphics like very well. So, but I mean, they're simple, but they're effective. The cars, the trucks look nice. There's the scoreboard's very easy to see. It's very, the colors used there are they contrast very well. It's very easy to read the numbers. So, you can see the hazards on the map and what they are. So, the game ported the Super NES. The Super NES game ported the arcade graphics great. It's just the arcade graphics were not actually cutting edge. So. The music in this game is also taken for the most part straight from the arcade version. The porting of the music over to the Super NES was done by a guy called Timothy Folan, who is known for a lot of games he's scored. His biggest projects were Silver Surfer, like the NES, Echo the Dolphin, Defender of the Future, like the Dreamcast, and most of the Spider-Man and X-Men games, like the Super NES. So, and Silver Surfer does have a great soundtrack. The game is wicked hard to, but the music, but at least the music in the game is great. But yeah, the music in this game is very good. It sounds racing appropriate, like it's like good music, like fitting for the game.
It's all right.
Yeah. So yeah, the game's definitely challenging. It's even more. So it's a little bit easier with multiplayer because playing the game with somebody else, you actually have the ability to, the two of you often can try to help one another, kind of like box off the AI or whatnot to kind of try to get one of the troublesome players out of the.
Or you could just ram your buddy into the wall and say, haha, at least I get third place.
You can do that too, yep. Saving Nitro for the end, the last lap is so critical in this game because you need that big time. So, I do really appreciate how that this game, unlike many other racing games, doesn't simulate damage. You can get beat up as much as you want to, it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you did, that'd be really bad, because you would get destroyed in like 2 seconds. Because you get thrown all over the place.
Yes, you do, and you go through some serious hazards on the racetrack too. So, let me say, if you were actually racing these courses, you probably would not want to eat beforehand. Let's just put it that way.
Or maybe you would want to eat 2 times the amount, and then when you get sick, you throw up on the competition. I don't know what I'm saying.
Right. So I couldn't really find anything for contemporary reviews for this game. Most people didn't really acknowledge it, which can either be a good thing or a bad thing, I guess. I mean, other versions of the game got reviews, but nobody seemed to pay much attention like the Super NES version of the game, which is strange. So, if you look at modern game reviews, the game does pretty well as far as the review score. It's about the compilation here on Game FAQ, for example, is 138 votes, giving the game a rating of about 3.5 out of 5. So, that seems about right. But most reviews place it. Most of the modern reviews place it. Place the game around like 3 stars, 3.5 stars.
Out of 5 or?
Yeah, out of 5. So.
Oh, okay.
So, but so I think this is a pretty good, good faithful arcade port. I don't think it's the best port of the game. Like I said before, a lot of people, like I mentioned before, a lot of people consider the NES port to be probably the best version. And the Genesis version of the game also gets high marks. Because the controls are a little bit easier, like that version of the game.
Are they?
So, yes. So, the graphics don't look as good, but the controls were improved a little bit. So Super NES version is probably about like middle of the pack as far as the actual quality of the the port goes. The Lynx version got slaughtered as far as its reviews go. I mean, everybody commented about the choppy animation and the scrolling that version of the game, which made it almost like unplayable.
Yeah.
And also this was another game. No surprise that was announced for the that was announced for the Jaguar, but never came out on it.
Oh, well then.
Yeah. Did
they do the math and realize it wasn't a good idea?
Probably.
Oh, okay.
The Jaguar is one of the systems in which the announced game list is bigger than the actual game list. So.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, that's sad.
But the ZX Spectrum version of the game looks like garbage because the Spectrum version is not a very powerful computer. But
you don't have to be rude about it. ZX Spectrum was very popular in the markets that it was sold, though.
Oh yeah, I know. That version of the game sold very well, as a matter of fact.
Not surprised.
From what I understand, it actually, it's, it plays fine. I looked at a video of it online. It's slow and sluggish because of the Spectrum, and everything's depicted like monochrome graphics. But the gameplay seems there.
My favorite thing is like looking at very limited consoles or computers and seeing what people were able to do and how they were able to get around certain things. And with the ZX Spectrum, there's just a bunch of tricks that people use, and it's insane.
It is, yes, yeah, definitely.
Neat little thing.
Yep, it is. So, I've only played a handful. So I've only played so I've been meaning to spend more time in the Spectrum library because I've only played a handful of games on it. But there are some very, British games on the system. There's also some very like neat games too. So
on a British computer, you're telling me that there's British games? I might have to do some research on that.
Yeah, I just mean like games that probably are not going to be all that appealing to like people on the side of the pond. But then again, who knows?
Like James Pond?
James Pond is actually James Pond was actually a British developed game. So
I know that's the point. That was, yeah.
But I never played James Pond. I have no idea how well it's sold over here.
I don't see I'm not interested in it, so I never really bothered.
What was that series about that, like the talking egg? There was also a very
Dizzy?
Dizzy, yeah. Dizzy's not bad actually. Dizzy's okay. That's a pretty competent platformer.
Huh.
So
okay. But
it is a weird game. But anyway, so final thoughts about this game. This is a very good port of the game. Like I said before, it's not great. Like I said before, I do have a lot of experience playing this. But I probably spend more time playing the NES version of this game, as compared to the Super NES version of the game, just because I actually have more nostalgia like the NES version of the game. So, if you enjoy this game, this is a very good port of the game. There's nothing wrong with it. Some of the, having the extra tracks, tracks is nice, but being limited to 2 players, of course, and whatnot, hurts the game a little bit, depending upon if you have anybody to play the game with. So,
no.
Anybody who's not played this game, I think it's still fun to pick up and play for a little bit. It's a very, it's a very easy game to get the hang of. Once you get over the controls, that is. So, and you definitely get I think most people find this game to be to be one of those like fun for a while games where get tired of it and put it down. So, Yeah, it's not bad. I know you're not really a big racing fan, George, so I'm curious to hear like what you thought about this, like overall.
It's a cool game. I like the upgrade stuff. And you have a bunch of tiers for like upgrading, so you'd be spending a lot of money. I was not good enough to even get up to like 3 of each, but this game is difficult. I mean,
Yes.
the further I got in, the more trouble I was having, and I don't know if it was me or what, but there's a lot of there's a few grievances. I mean, we've already brought this up, but stuff like the AI can be ridiculous. Either they're just too aggressive or they're just too fast for me or whatever. And
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's all right. It's not bad. I've definitely played worse. So
Yeah. But like I said, there's not, there's not too many off-road racing games out there. So, anybody who enjoys that kind of game, this is definitely like a good one to check out. So, but so I need to, I need to spend I need to spend more time with the sequels because I really haven't spent too much time with them. I haven't played Super Off-Road Baja for like quite a while. So, we may have to cover that at some point.
all right.
But anyway, yeah. So like kind of fun to do a racing game, every now and then because I don't think we haven't covered one on this podcast for a long time. So,
Jeez, I can't remember the last time.
Well, it was before you joined the podcast. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Are you sure about that? I'm pretty sure we covered a couple of racing games.
The last racing game I remember. The last racing game I remember covering on this podcast, like, is F-Zero.
I could have sworn that there is at least one racing game that we covered.
I mean, we've covered games that have racing as part of the game, but not actually. But I don't. You better remember us covering a dedicated racing game.
I'm doing research.
For example, like Batman Returns has like a racing stage in it,
Right.
and so does well, technically TMNT4, but you're racing on hover vehicles instead.
That's not really racing.
Yeah.
Uniracers racing game.
Yeah, I guess it's a racing game.
It is. You have to get to the end before your opponent does.
It's kind of like a racing / platformer game to me, at least.
Oh, now you're just making things up, Greg.
So, well, but yeah, okay. Anyway, so not a game we covered on here a lot, like a lot then at least. Well, a genre.
Yeah, we don't cover too many racing games.
Yeah. So, but so next time, next time on this podcast, however, we're going to be covering another one of our tried and true wells of games to dip into, and George is keeping his trend of picking Japanese games going. So, what are we going to be covering next time, George?
Oh boy, Fire Emblem. Oh boy, Mansu no Nazu.
Which was the first game in the franchise, I think.
No, it's the second.
Second game in the franchise. Okay.
It has a not watered down. It has a truncated version of the first game included with it. There are two books. The first book is the first game, the events of the first game. The second book is the second game itself.
Interesting.
I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah. Well, yep. The Fire Emblem series is very popular here in the West now, but but it'd be fun to look at like one of the earliest games to see how it differs compared to compared to more like modern examples.
By the way, we covered Rock and Roll Racing.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one, which I'm surprised I did because that was a good game.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we still have a couple of things to talk about here on the podcast. It just seemed like a very good segue point to bring this up. So
Super Mario Kart we talked about, that's racing.
Yeah. Yep. Right. So there are some cheat codes available like this game, if you're so inclined, which may be very helpful to you depending upon your skill level. If you want to, for example, there's only two, and both these cheat codes are very big. If you so at the start of the game, if you pick one of the initials, the set of initials that the AI is using, like one of the 3 drivers, and name your driver with the same initials, that driver will be much slower, like in the game, like in all the races, because of that.
Oh.
So it's almost like the AI can't handle 2 people with the same name. It kind of like slows the AI down because of it. But
that's weird.
Well, yeah. So people debated online if this is actually like a glitch or actually a secret or intentional or whatnot. So who knows? But yeah. So it's like if you're having a problem with that white driver, for example, just use initials and you'll slow them like right down. So.
Perfect.
Or even better, if you want to, there's a way to never. So, there's a way to never finish in 4th place again.
You just don't play the game. What a great cheat code.
To do this trick, you have to plug in both controllers. So you need 2 controllers like for this one. Start 2-player game. When you start racing. The blue truck will sit idle, obviously, because blue truck is the one that's controlled by the second player. So therefore, because the blue truck, therefore that truck will always lose, i.e., be 4th place. Therefore, you're guaranteed to get at least 3rd.
That's not a cheat code. That's being cheeky.
I probably should have said like glitches, cheats, secrets, like bugs, etc. This section
cheat code. Buy a second controller and plug it in.
So if you're frustrated like in advancing, that's one way to make sure that you can. So. This game's pretty easy to find on eBay, and does not go for a lot of money. There were 121 copies of the game available on sale for eBay at the time of researching this. 46 copies recently sold. These prices include shipping. Card only range anywhere from $4 to $16. So not very expensive.
That's not bad.
And CIB's not that much more. Those sold anywhere from $17 to $35.
Wow.
So pretty affordable game to get.
Yeah.
Plus I think it's $4. I think it's worth it. Especially if somebody else to play against.
Yeah. No, that's not a bad value.
So, anyway, we will probably cover some more racing games again in the future. There are some other like racing games I'm interested in looking at. There's a port to a popular arcade game called Chase HQ. That's available. It's available in system looks like pretty fun. I also enjoyed playing Top Gear a lot as a kid. Have you ever tried that one, George?
No.
Okay. Well, Top Gear series like was very popular like when it came like was out. So that's more of a traditional.
I mean, Top Gear is still pretty popular.
Yeah. So that's more of a traditional like Indy 500 style game. So, but yeah. I mean, like is NASCAR like NASCAR series like still a thing? I know that EA
Oh, you're talking about the game series? I was about to say I don't think they like got rid of NASCAR, Greg.
No. Yeah. No, I mean the game
series. Oh boy. The last time they probably are, but I don't follow that stuff. The last time I really heard about NASCAR games was like when EA took off one of the big developers for it and like brought in a new developer, and there was some kind of, I don't know. They probably still make it though. I'm not sure actually.
Well, let's see. It looks like that it looks like the EA did their last NASCAR game in 2008. Then the company.
No. There's more recent ones.
Well,
definitely.
I was gonna say then another company got the rights to make NASCAR games after that point.
Yeah.
So a company called I don't know how to pronounce it. UT Shinks.
Hey, you watch your mouth. The latest I see here is 2017, I think.
Yeah, so they made the games until 2015. Activision published most of those games.
Some of these NASCAR. Oh, and no, there's one that says 2018 NASCAR.
2018, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So,
I guess it's popular enough still. I guess some of these NASCAR games are actually pretty good, or they're just fun to screw around. I remember which one was it? Had what's his name on there? I think it was like NASCAR 08. I got on PS2 years and years ago, and like. It was fun just to like turn off the pace car and turn off like the yellow flag or whatever the heck it is, and just ram into everybody and destroy all the cars and go the other way. And yeah, it's pretty fun. And then it was also kind of fun to race. They had other modes. It wasn't just NASCAR. It was also like racing go-karts and then like racing something lower than NASCARs that I don't know what the heck they're called.
So the current series, it's called NASCAR Heat. It looks like.
Yeah, like I said, the newest one apparently was released in 2018. NASCAR Heat 3.
Well, they also has NASCAR Heat 4 coming out. It just came out like last month.
Oh, really? Oh, I don't see that here. Okay. All right, cool. I guess they're still making them. Don't know if they're any good.
I have no idea either. There's also a mobile version available, which I'm like, I can't play very well.
You'll be surprised, Greg. I don't know. I like Daytona.
Daytona's also very good. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And of course, there's also the Gran Turismo series. How could you forget about that?
Well, that's not NASCAR, but that's a thing too. Yeah.
Yep.
And then there's I mean, now we're just gonna branch out here. We'll probably just cut this short. You almost got me into like a whole ramble here, Greg. Oh my God, I stopped myself.
Yeah. So the current games being made by a company called Monster Games, NASCAR Heat. I've never heard.
Weird. Wonder if they're any good.
What else have they done? Sports games. They're a sports company.
Not surprised.
Viper Racing.
Usually, if you're a big company that wants somebody to do a sports game, you usually look for a developer that has some kind of experience doing sports games.
They have, however, made some very big non-sporting games. They developed Power Wings Resort, like the 3DS.
Oh, really?
Yep. Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D, like the 3DS.
What?
They co-developed Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on the Wii U with Virtual Studios.
What?
They also developed Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, like on the 3DS.
Huh.
So they're not.
That's weird.
So yeah, they're not entirely sports games. Sports games. It's just sports games like their bread and butter.
Right. Or their mufflers and oil?
Okay, I think on that note we should wrap this up.
That was the one. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Just that one.
But yeah, racing games. Yeah, racing games are fun. I don't think, as a final thought, and this is something we talk about later on, George. Racing games are one of the genres I don't think they age very well for the most part, but there are some games I think that hold up pretty well, and I think this one's included. So, for example, Ride Racer and the NES are like a blast to play.
Yeah.
And so is we mentioned earlier, RC Pro Am. That's like a fun game too.
Yes.
But anyway.
It's a pretty cool game.
Yep. So, like racing games, like sports games, don't tend to age very well for the most part, but there are exceptions. So, if you enjoyed the podcast, please feel free to check us out on Facebook. You can also send me an email if you want to. The email is the SNESpodcast@yahoo.com. We also are available on Patreon if you're so inclined to back us on there, which we would very much appreciate. You can find that at www.patreon.com/the SNES podcast. For those $1 a month, you can get some cool perks, such as being mentioned. You mentioned like in every episode, or you can also dictate a game for us to cover, or you can also get early access to early access to episodes. So George does all the work for that, which I thank you very much for, George. It's very much
You're welcome.
you very much appreciate it. So at this time, I wish to thank Chad, Corey, and David for being backers of the podcast. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, people.
George,
Or dogs. I don't. Or cats. Or yeah. What were you saying?
George, if a dog wants to contact you, how can they do so?
They can bark really loud, and I'll be able to hear it. That's my superpower. If you'd like to get in contact with me, you could do so through Twitter. My handle on there is @_Derpkin_. That's _DERPKITTEN_, and that's about it. If you're a cat, I don't know if I could hear you meow. Try doing it really loudly. But I think I pick up dogs' signals, but what am I talking about? All right, let's get out of here.
Yes. And remember, folks, final point. If you wish to go racing, do so in a video game. It's a lot safer and cheaper than trying to do it like in real life, especially this kind of racing.
Do it on a closed track.
Yes.
If you've ever played Need for Speed, they'll tell you that.
Oh, yes, definitely. So,
yep.
Goodbye, all. Take care.
See ya.
Nintendo controls 80% of the video market. But no matter how you play the game, or which game you play, things definitely have come a long way since Pac-Man.
Now you're playing with power. Super power.